Good evening. I'm Vin Cipolla, President of the Municipal Art Society, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the 9th Annual Masterworks Awards ceremony. Thank you so much for being here. This year we're presenting the awards in conjunction with the MAS Summit for New York City. The summit, which was held in this very space earlier today and which was fantastic, and will continue to tomorrow, which will be amazing, is MAS's first ever conference on livability. We've convened more than 400 civic-minded New Yorkers, actually 560 people have registered for this summit, and leaders in the fields of planning, design, housing, economics, and development to discuss urban livability and examine the challenges faced in New York City from sidewalk to skyline. I am pleased to see many of you from today's summit in the room, thank you, and I hope to see many of you tomorrow. As you may know, the Municipal Art Society has a long history for advocating for New York City in matters of design, urban planning, historic preservation, and public space. When MAS was founded in 1893, one of our most ardent promoters, Evangeline Blashfield, had the following motto: "To make us love our city, we must make our city lovely." Early MAS members were inspired by the wonderful public spaces, creative urban design practices, and grand works of architecture of other cities, and believed that New York could and should be even more beautiful in order to make the city as livable as possible. Launched in 2001, the Masterworks Awards honor those projects that not only make our city a more beautiful place to live, but also a more livable place through innovation, creative architecture, and urban design. At MAS, we are deeply passionate about great design and its transformative impact on neighborhoods and cities. I'd like to thank Christian Ritter, who is here tonight, and Helaba for generously supporting these awards for the 5th year in a row. Helaba is a German bank whose logo and name you've probably seen around town on a variety of commercial and large-scale residential real estate projects. Helaba is one of the most strategic and intelligent financial partners in New York real estate today, and we're so honored to have them sponsor Masterworks. Tonight, we are here to celebrate an extraordinary group of awardees and to recognize the visionary and inspired contributions that the literally hundreds of individuals involved in each design project have made to enhance the way we live, the way we work, and the way we experience our great city. And now I'll hand it over to the very fabulous David Childs, the host of tonight's festivities. David is not only one of the world's great architects, but he is also an unflagging friend to MAS. He joined the board in 1986 and has been the chairman of the board since 2009. As chairman emeritus of SOM, David's imprint is all over the world and our city as well. From the Time Warner Center at Columbus Circle, which received a Masterworks Award in 2004, to the yet-to-be-completed One World Trade Center and its designs for Moynihan Station, David's impact on New York is undeniable. Among his numerous civic involvements, David has served on the boards of the American Academy in Rome, the Museum of Modern Art, the National Building Museum. He has received presidential appointments as chairman of the National Capital Planning Commission and as chairman of the Commission of Fine Arts. And he is also a fellow of the American Institute of Architects. I'm proud to present a friend to our city, a friend to MAS, and my friend, David Childs.
That was fun. Vin and I get along extremely well, but one of our rules is that he's not allowed to say anything about my resume. So you went on and on. I couldn't do anything about that, Vin, but thank you so much. It's impossible to follow Vin for two reasons. One, that he says everything so beautifully, and second of all, he says it all. So here I am. But I would only reiterate one thing, which is that we have a wonderful friend and our sponsor, the hell of a bank tonight. Again, been a great long friend and asset to the kinds of things that we care about enormously. And Christian Ritter is going to be here tonight, is here, and I'd like to ask him to come up and say a few words to all of you. Christian, are you here? I'm here. Good. Please, step forward.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. As a New Yorker who has lived in the city for over 25 years, I lived only about 2 blocks from this fabulous project here, the High Line. And therefore, I have a deep personal appreciation for what good projects can do and what this is all about, all these projects that are being honored here tonight. I think that this is one of the most fabulous assets in terms of enhancing the quality of life that I experienced personally in this neighborhood for a long time. Halaba is very proud to continue its support for the Municipal Art Society, and it's now the 5th year in a row that we are participating with the Masterworks Awards. To all of this year's winners, all the best. Congratulations to a job very well done.
Isn't he the best? I tell you, bankers haven't gotten the best reputation in the last couple of years. If everybody had been like you, Christian, we'd be in better shape today, I must say. So again, thank you for your continuing support and belief in the things we do, believe in, the contribution that good design brings to the livability of our cities. This year, we had a great jury, and I'd like to introduce Alan Suna, an old dear friend, and in fact, somebody before he got truth and light into his life, he worked for me in my architectural firm. Alan Suna. Alan, would you step forward? And there you are.
Good evening, everyone. I won't speak that long, but since I'm given a podium and a microphone, I'm going to take the opportunity to thank David for inviting me to be part of the jury. I know David for 38 years. We figured it out before. That's actually before I became an architect. I actually was interested in becoming an architect, and I worked for David's National Capital Planning Commission in Washington, D.C. as an intern, just to see what that world was about. And I think David was about 16 years old when he was doing that. So, and then some years later, that led to my reaching out to him to see if he wanted to hire me as an architect after I graduated from Cornell. And he made the mistake of hiring me, but you know, that's just the way it goes. So thank you, David. The Municipal Art Society each year seeks out talented design professionals and a developer, in this case that's me, to serve on a jury for their Masterworks Awards. You know, as a developer, I will tell you I enjoyed very much the process this year and the exchange between all of the jurists. And the people that were part of that jury this year were Vishan Chakrabarti, who has had an incredible career, but maybe he'll tell you about that later. Thomas Waltz, who is a landscape designer, landscape architect, fabulous guy. Paola Antonelli from the Museum of Modern Art. She's the senior curator of architecture and design there. Toshiko Mori, who teaches up at Harvard. And then there was me. And we had a lot of discussion about, you know, who to award, give these awards to, because there were many, many good projects. You know, as it turned out, the projects that you will see have tended to be towards institutional projects, because that's frankly where most of the entries were coming from this year. But there are some really fabulous works of architecture and landscape design that are being recognized this evening. There was one area that was particularly challenging for the jury, and that was the neighborhood catalyst category. Guess what? We couldn't get agreement among the jury. So that award is being shared by a number of really great projects. So we hope that you will agree with us that this year's Masterworks Awards are fabulous, and I thank you for enabling me to be a part of it this year. Thank you.
And Alan will be up here again to give one of the awards a little bit later. I will introduce each one of the jury members who will have a role in giving out these awards. And first of all is Thomas Woltz, principal in the landscape architecture firm of Nelson Bird Woltz. And he will tell you about the Best Restoration Award. Thomas?
First of all, I want to thank the Municipal Art Society for thinking broadly enough to have a landscape architect on the jury. It was very exciting, and I appreciated it very much. They might have cheated a little bit. I was trained as an architect in both undergraduate and graduate school, but my practice is definitely centered on landscape architecture. The award for Best Restoration is a structure that we all know and love. It is beneath the Juilliard School at 1941 Broadway. The opaque base of the Eduardo Catalano and the Pietro Berluschi building was stripped away by Diller, Scofidio, and Renfro in collaboration with FX Fowle to reveal the renovated Alice Tully Hall to the street. This act introduced new public spaces, both interior and exterior, to Broadway. Would Ron Austin of Lincoln Center, Liz Diller, Rick Scofidio, and Sylvia Smith of FX Fowle please come to the stage?
How are you? Thank you. I think we all want to say a couple of words. It's a huge project, part of a much larger project. Great architectural collaborator in FX Fowle, a fantastic client in Lincoln Center, great city administration. I have to say that projects that we've done the last couple of years could not have happened in another administration. One thing that is really important and something I learned during this project is that that you can take historic assets and you can find very sensitive ways to treat them and to preserve them and to reinvent them for future use, and without putting them in formaldehyde, but by really using a lot of creative energy and sensitivity. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Liz. 50 years ago, a group of visionaries came forward with a very creative experiment to try building the world's largest cultural facility as an urban renewal project. And as part of that, they hired at the time 6 of the world's leading architects. Liz is often fond of saying it took 50 years, $1 billion, and a woman's touch to correct the damage that they did. So we thank her for her time and her talent sharing it with you. We thank you, MAS, for the award, and we thank everyone for appreciating our hard work.
The second award goes to the, for Best Historic Restoration, goes to the Empire State Building lobby restoration. The lobby of the Empire State Building at 350 Fifth Avenue is one of the few New York City interiors designated as an historic landmark. Guided by Beyer Blinder Bell architects and planners, the restoration brings greater visibility, consistency, and historical accuracy to important public corridors and street facades within the city. Accepting the award are father and son team Tony Malkin and Peter Malkin of Malkin Holdings, and Richard Metzke of Beyer Blinder Bell.
Hi, I'm Richard Metzke. Working for the Malkins is total joy. The fact that we were able to take a building that was built in 13 months and spend 2 years redoing the lobby was a treat. The fact that Tony Malkin came to me when we showed him a portion of the lobby, and I said, "What is that up there?" And he said, "Well, it's gold leaf and silver." And I said, "Well, is that the way they made it originally?" And he said, "Well, no, it was originally aluminum with a varnish and gold leaf." And I said, "Well, then redo it and do it in the aluminum." That was really cool too. In all seriousness, you know, the Empire State Building, this project got started on the basis of, number one, the fact that my dad, my grandfather, and Harry Helmsley bought the building in 1961 when I was not yet born. And number two, the fact that we had a period of time during which the asset really was not managed, taken care of the way it should be. And we went through a lengthy process to get control over the operation of the building. And I sat and I looked with my dad back in the summer of 2006 when it was clear that it was coming our way and we were going to get control of it. I said, you know, we have to do something other than be known as the people who own the Empire State Building. Because when people really look into it, it's not really anything we should be proud of. The event and the fact is great, but either we should fix it or we should sell it. And I said, you know, we can fix it. I have a high degree of confidence that we can fix it, but it's going to take a lot of money, and it's going to take a long time. We have to fix not only its interior, we have to fix what goes on in it, we have to change all the management, we have to redo the systems. Well, you know, so I get my hats off first really to my grandfather for his vision and appetite. I think that he guaranteed personally a very big loan, and he said, someone asked him, how did you go about personally guaranteeing that? And he said, it was simple, I didn't have the money. The second thing, of course, is my dad, who had not only the tolerance as an incredible partner and dad for the first several decades, but as a partner to allow this to be done. Third, it was really actually a pleasure to look at the lobby in particular, which is only the opening for the remarkable $500 million plus work that we're doing at the building. And to be able to say, no, we're going to use aluminum because that's the way they did it. And of course they used aluminum because aluminum was a space-age material. They didn't have space back then, but it made flight possible. And it cost a lot more to make aluminum than it did to make silver. And that we're going to bring the lighting down to the original levels. And along the process, by the way, that is not the original. That is not the original, and that's what we got rid of up there. Obviously, the fluorescent egg crate lighting fixtures. But by bringing the lighting down, the richness of the original intent of the architects came through. And so we hope that you will take the time sometime to step into 350 Fifth Avenue, take a look at the artistic rendering of the celestial sky and an homage to the mechanical age, which is what was designed. Don't think of it as a building that was built during the Depression. It wasn't. It was a building that was designed and built during an economic setback after a crash, which turned into the Great Depression, but it was with all the aspirations and hope which still inspire people today. And know when you go in there that it is a completely from the inside revitalized building, the reuse of buildings, the constructive repurposing, that we are signing huge 100,000, multi-100,000 square foot leases that were never signed when the building was first done. We're actually fixing the damn thing. And it's really wonderful. We're thrilled to be treated to this award, and now from the guy who really owns the building.
I am not Richard Metzger's father. You've heard from my partner, who used to be my son, and my wife says he'll soon be my boss, who used to be my partner. But in any event, I do want you all to know that this is not what we've done that's shown up here. It is really magnificent. And it's a great thrill for me to be here with Ron and the Diller Scofidio team, because at this point I am the longest serving director of Lincoln Center, having joined the board of Lincoln Center in the 1970s. And so to have Lincoln Center and the Empire State Building honored together is particularly delightful for me. And I want to thank Tom and the Municipal Art Society and Barb Linder Bell for this, making it possible for us to share in this honor. Thank you very much.
I'll be rather brief, but I would like to thank, from all of us actually at Barb Linder Bell, we thank the MAS very, very much. It was also a very collaborative project over 3 years, so I'd like to thank some of our consultants, especially Jeff Green from Evergreen Architectural Arts, who was able to restore the ceiling, 212 Associates for all the graphics, the lighting practice for all the lighting, and Rambush Studios for the new lighting that went into Rockefeller Center. But especially I'd like to thank the Malkins and Tony. As you know, it was Tony's drive, it was Tony's vision that really made this project come together. So thank you very much.
Next, Paola Antonelli is here. She's the Senior Curator for Architecture and Design at MoMA, whom many of you have known for a long time. A wonderful person, very, very talented, and I was just delighted to be involved with her as I was on the board of MoMA. And she will come up and give the awards for the Neighborhood Catalyst. Paola?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to lovingly remind my dear Alan Suna that we did not disagree on the quality of the projects, but rather we found ourselves in front of this amazing trifecta, and we caught the opportunity to celebrate such a vibrant moment in the history of New York City, where projects begun by citizens for citizens are coming to fruition and are celebrated throughout the boroughs. That's why we have 3 awards for Neighborhood Catalyst tonight. One award goes to Concrete Plant Park on the Bronx River, a park that began as basically like a landfill, desolate area, and now is an attraction for surfers and sunbathers and lovers and kayakers, a wonderful, wonderful place. And here to accept the award tonight are Deputy Commissioner Therese Braddock, James Mituzas, Damian Griffin, David Shuffler, Joan Byron, and Michaela Crater. Please come to the stage.
So thank you. There's a lot of us up here, but I get to talk because among my hats, I proudly wear the one that says Chairperson of the Board of the Bronx River Alliance. And public-private partnership is way too pale a word to describe the forces that made it possible to create the Concrete Plant Park. That the Concrete Plant Park, maybe unlike some of the other projects we've seen, was really born from the struggles of communities that are fighting poverty, that are fighting unemployment, that are bearing the brunt of this recession in a way that's hard to imagine for a lot of us, and that are also fighting off one after another an onslaught of environmental insults, many of them the infrastructure that makes possible the vibrancy and growth of other parts of the city, 27 waste transfer stations, electric power generating plants, sewage treatment plants, jails, and much, much more. And even in the face of having to fight off this endless series of evils, the communities and the community organizations, some of whom are represented here, Sustainable South Bronx, Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice, also The Point, Nos Quedamos, and many more, came together to claim the Bronx River as their own and to look for the land along the Bronx River that would make it possible to get to the river, to restore it, to care for it, and to enjoy it. And the Concrete Plant Park is what happens when communities, environmental justice communities, have a powerful vision, and when government has the good sense to embrace that vision rather than fighting it. And we applaud the Parks Department, who has been an incredible partner. This park was designed by Jim Matuzes, a public servant, okay? An employee of the Capital Division of the Parks Department. It's often thought that government can't do noble, visionary things. This proves otherwise. And there's more where this came from. That we got word yesterday that the federal government has awarded to the city of New York a Tiger II planning grant for endorsing another project that is the brainchild of these same environmental justice communities. The city of New York is now funded by the federal government to study a proposal that the community came up with to take down the Sheridan Expressway and replace it with 1,500 units of housing, 300,000 square feet of open space, a network of open spaces that will reconnect the existing neighborhoods that can now look at the river but can barely get to it, can look at the Concrete Plant Park and have to travel over dangerous streets to get to it. So you ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, thank you.
Do we have a wide-angle lens?
Very wide angle and tall angle too.
And one more. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Well, yes, it's about fighting, isn't it? It's all these feisty projects for neighborhood catalysts. That's what they share, besides elegance and true sympathy for citizenships. And the next award for Neighborhood Catalyst goes to the West Harlem Pierce Park, which reconnects Harlem to the Hudson River. It's the culmination of a 30-year struggle, 30 years, by the community to renew its connection to the waterfront. And here to accept the awards tonight are Barbara Wilkes of W Architecture and Teresa Lorente of New York City Economic Development Corporation. Please come to stage. People. I didn't have the right people.
I'm not Teresa.
No, you're not Teresa. What's your name? So I announce it.
Eric Washington.
Eric Washington. Please. Who's going to talk to you?
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we also had a huge team, but they're not all here tonight. So I really am very grateful to the community, Peggy Shepard and Cecil Corbin Marks from WEACT, who really shepherded this project from the very beginning, over 30 years, I believe. We worked on the project 10 years, but it was nothing in comparison to what they went through. So thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much for coming. And last but not least, the Highline. What can we say? Neighborhood Catalyst, very celebrated, very enjoyed by many of us. It has transformed a successful, it's a successful art community that's now become also a popular place. And here to accept the award tonight are Deputy Commissioner Therese Braddock, Robert Hammond, Liz Diller, Rick Scofidio, Lisa Switkin, and Joanna Gargiula. Somebody spelled it for me, Gargiula. I know how to pronounce it. I'm Italian. Here, come to stage, please.
might just say a short, brief thing. I'm Richard Kennedy from Field Operations. And this is an obvious and self-serving thing, but one of the great successes of the High Line is that it's really expanded the understanding both within the city and really internationally of the importance of public spaces and good quality public spaces in the life of cities, and particularly within New York. And with all great successes, it comes down to having a great team and great collaboration, both and with field operations and DSR, among others, and with great clients. So many thanks to Moss, Friends of the High Line, EDC, and the City of New York. Thank you.
One more.
Oh,
yeah. Come.
Hoping to hear from you. This is great. Thank you. I just want to say one thing. In this case, the city was the catalyst for what happened. The city has changed tremendously over the years, but it allowed Robert Hammond, Joshua Davids, form Friends of the High Line, and to bring this to fruition, which is pretty incredible. So their success, they say, has many mothers, but I think there were a few critical ones to making this happen.
Thank you, Rick. Sometimes the coda is all the best. Thank you. And now I would like to bring back Alan to give the award for the best storefront design. Alan?
So Reef was a 2009 installation at the Storefront for Art and Architecture down at 97 Kenmare Street. It redefined the relationship between a public sidewalk and a storefront interior. This piece created a dialogue between the art installation by Rob Lay and Josh Stein and the groundbreaking building face by Vito Accioni and Stephen Hall. If you hadn't seen it, please look at your materials and take a look at it. It is so incredible because it really engages pedestrians on the street, which in so many ways is what MAS is about, and about those of us that are real New York City folks and urban people really like to see. So it's a fabulous piece of work. Accepting on behalf of the designers is Eva France Gilbert. She's the director of the Storefront for Art and Architecture.
I will be brief. I'm accepting this prize in behalf of the artist, but also of the last director of Storefront, Joseph Grima, who just stepped out to go into Italy to be the director of Domus. I accept this prize in behalf of their name, but also of an institution that precedes me and will continue after me, probably. And I'm glad to be here with some of the people who actually started their careers in that very same place, that is Liz and Ricardo. And it's a place where actually the futures are, in a certain way, envisioned from a space of experimentation and risk. Storefront is a non-for-profit that actually lives out of the desires and the dreams of people who believe that a different way of dealing with architecture, of dealing with experimentation and thought, it's possible. So if you haven't been there, if you haven't seen the facade of Vito Conci and Stephen Hall, if you haven't seen the current exhibition, I encourage you, all of you, to come and play with the facade, give us your ideas, and enjoy with the space in the city that next to the Lincoln Center or next to the Empire State perhaps is the smallest, the tiniest space. But I would say that seeing the awards today, perhaps one with the largest impact. Thank you so much.
And finally, and with great enthusiasm, I welcome here Vishaan Chakrabarti, a longtime friend and colleague and partner. He has now gone on to many things, one of which is the Mark Holliday Professor at Columbia University Graduate School for Architecture, Planning, and Preservation. And he is doing many things, including his own consulting work and being involved with Related. He's had a long past with the City Planning Commission in addition to working with SOM. So it's a wonderful note for me to have ability to chance to welcome Vishaan here to give out the award for the best new building. Vishaan?
Thank you, David. It's always a great honor to be introduced by you. It's wonderful about cleanup. I will be fairly short as I know that I stand between you and the reception. And I will always be on a jury with Paolo Antonelli just to hear that accent. We're here to present the Best Award to 41 Cooper Square, designed by Morphosis Architects in collaboration with Grusin Sampton. The jury thought this was an extraordinary building because of the way it amplified the urban forces at the corner of the Bowery and St. Mark's. I'll also just on a personal note say that I was working at City Planning when this building was being approved, and it was great working with Tom Main because he continually wanted to do something illegal. And I think the building somehow embodies that spirit of the push and pull of New York City on the building. So accepting the award is Elizabeth O'Donnell, Associate Dean of Architecture at Cooper Union, Go Un So and Hunter Knight of Morphosis Architects, and Peter Sampton of Grusin Sampton. Please come to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. It's my really great pleasure and honor to accept this award on behalf of the Cooper Union for the advancement of science and art, with extraordinary thanks to our incredible team, Morphosis and Grusin Sampton. Founded in 1859 by inventor, entrepreneur, and philanthropist Peter Cooper, the Cooper Union began with the building. In 1859, the foundation building was one of the most advanced buildings of its time. At 6 stories, it was the tallest building in New York City. It was one of the first buildings to use rolled steel sections for its structure and contained an elevator shaft before elevators had even been invented. It housed a free public reading room, the largest public indoor auditorium in New York City, which was used as a space for free speech and often raucous debate, and housed free public programs in art and technologies, open to men and women alike, regardless of race or religion. Our new building, which I agree pushes edges in both design, program, and technologies, provides us with an extraordinary contemporary embodiment of Peter Cooper's vision of the union of science and art, as well as our continued mission of full scholarship education in architecture, art, and engineering. So thank you so much to our team, and thank you to the Municipal Arts Society.
Thank you to everyone here for participating in this. It's a tremendously important event that we have. It's particularly relevant this year to tie it in with the first year of our conference, the summit that you've been part of, many of you, I think most of you here today, and that, as Vin so well said, is continuing tomorrow, and I hope that we'll see you bright and early for that too. But the idea of celebrating great design as a way of making the city livable certainly fits in wonderfully. And it's been a great evening, great awards, and I'm so pleased that you all came. Please join me once again for thanking Christian and Ella Bank for their support of this program. Christian, I'd like to thank you once more. And I'd like to welcome all of you to please go back out to what you've been waiting for, which is to gather together and to go to the bar. Thank you.